across the floor. I was feeling kind of seasick. The crowd called out for more. The room was humming harder as the ceiling flew away. When we called out for another drink, the waiter brought a tray. And so it was that later, as the miller told his tale, that her face at first just ghostly turned the wider shade of pale. She said there is no reason, and the truth is plain to see. But I wandered through my playing cards, would not let her be one of 16 Vestal virgins who were leaving for the coast. And although my eyes were open, they might just as well have been closed. And so it was that later, as the miller told his tale, that her face at first just ghostly turned the wider shade of pale. lost and searching. Now I find that I can choose. I'm free. Oh, yeah. So funny, I just have to laugh. All my trouble been torn in half. I've been lonely too long. Lonely too long. In the past they've come and gone. I feel like I can't go on without love. Lonely too long. I've been lonely so long. To see me now, makes it worth the time I've waited. She was all I need to make me see. Oh, I keep hoping with all my mind everything's gonna turn out right. I've been lonely too long. Lonely so long. Now look at me, gliding through this world of beauty. Everything I do brings ecstasy. Oh, yeah. No wonder I could die. I feel like I'm about to take my life. Been lonely too long. Lonely too long. Find myself somebody. Don't have to be alone no more. Lonely so long. Don't have to be alone no more, no more. Well, my temperature rising and my feet on the floor. Crazy people knocking doors, I wanna sell more. Let me in, baby, I don't know what you got. You better take it easy, this place is hot. And I'm so glad we made it. So glad we made it. Give me some of loving. Give me some of loving. Give me some of loving. Every day. Hey! Well, my head's exploding and I'm floating to sound. Too much is happening 'cause you're around. It's been a hard day and nothing went too good. I'm gonna relax like everybody should. And I'm so glad we made it. So glad we made it. I want you to give me some of loving.
Of people that were activating parks, and I ran down to the shack quite a few times during the workday to try to grab a few of them. But I understand you have some photos with us from.
Well, I feel so good. Everything is getting hot. You better take some time off 'cause the place is on fire. Let it stop, baby, 'cause I had some work to do. We made it, baby, and it happened to you. And I'm so glad we made it. much older then, I'm younger than that now. Half-right prejudice, leave before, rip down all hate I scream. Lies that life is black and white, spoke from my skull I dream. Romantic flanks of musketeers, foundation deep somehow. Oh, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. In a soldier's stance I aim my hand at the mongrel dogs who teach, fearing not I'd become my enemy in the instant that I preach. Sisters fled by confusion boats, mutiny from stern to bow. Ah, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now. Older then, I'm younger than that now. My guard stood hard when abstract threats, too noble to neglect, deceived me into thinking I had something to protect. Good and bad, I define these terms, quite clear, no doubt, somehow. Ah, but I was so much older then, I'm younger than that now.
pencil lead, I guess, right?
Well,
or that was the foxhole one.
That was the foxhole
Yeah.
one. But
This Amateur Radio Roundtable is brought to you in part by ICOM America. Hello guys, you're listening and watching Amateur Radio Roundtable. I'm Tom Medlin, W5KUB, and this is September 15th, 2020. Boy, let me turn the echo off. I always leave that echo on there just to see if people in the chat room will catch it there. Hey, if you're listening out there on an international shortwave station tonight on shortwave on 5130, you can join our show if you have internet access. Just go to w5kub.com and click on video there, and you can watch the show. You can actually enter the chat room, talk with us during the show, and talk to other people around the world. Also, if you don't have internet there, maybe you'll get access to email or something later today. Send us an email. I'd like to hear from you and where you are and where you're hearing 5130, and give us a signal report there. The net tonight, the signals were actually pretty good on a 40-meter net tonight. Boy, we had quite a few people on there and some great signals. The band's starting to get a little better, I think. Actually even heard my son Chris down in Austin, Texas, and chatted with him a couple minutes there on there. So we know it's working better because he's been fighting that HOA antenna problem. Join our Facebook group. We've got a great Facebook group. We've got over 10,600 hams in our Facebook group. It's a great ham radio group. Just search for W5KUB, and that's our group. Or if you want to search for the long name, you can search for Amateur Radio Roundtable, and you'll get the same place here. Let's see, we had Glenn Popeil join us here a minute ago. Let's jump out there and look at all of our remotes here and see who is here tonight. Let's go first let me say hi to Glenn. So Glenn, pop in there.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
There you go. Now, what were you doing tonight? You were late.
Yeah, I know. I'll take my demerits.
Yeah, you're going to get demerits.
Actually, I'm going to be late and I'm leaving early, so this is going to be a regular work day for me. I had my times backward. I cannot calculate Mountain Standard Time to save my life. And I have a presentation for the Superstition Amateur Radio Club in Mesa, Arizona here in about an hour. And
yeah.
I was at our local club meeting just before, and that ended up, so I got 3 of them back to back tonight.
Well, here in the continental United States, we only have 4 time zones, and we're central. So Mountain isn't too difficult to calculate, man.
Well, actually, there's a 5th time zone.
Yeah, where's that?
It's the Mississippi time zone.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
You got to turn your watch back an hour and 10 years.
You're right. I forgot about that.
I
forgot you were down there. Okay. Well, great, man. Well, good to see you. And if you have to leave early, that's okay, man. Appreciate you being here. Let's see. Let's jump over to. Let's say hi to Alan. Hey, Alan, how you doing, man?
All right. Good evening, Tom. Good evening, everybody. Nice to be back on my second show here, and we'll talk a little bit with TekTips. And I think you mentioned earlier, I mentioned earlier that we may stick around the whole time, might not. On a little bit of painkillers. Had a 2-hour sit in the dentist chair today and to remove my last wisdom teeth. So we'll see how much wisdom I've got left.
So you're actually lighter today than you were yesterday by a little bit.
Just a little bit.
They removed a little bit there. Okay, well, sometimes that's no easy job getting your wisdom teeth taken out. But you look like you're doing good there, man. I tell you, you're a trooper. Thanks for being on here. Thanks for being on here tonight.
All right.
And we're going to do you first, your segment first, because if you start getting sleepy on us, you can go to bed, okay?
Yeah, if I fall head first into the keyboard there, you just cut
that's
my
right.
off.
That's right. Well, look, hey, the other guest we got on here is a good friend of mine, Skip Morris, over in Middle Tennessee. Skip, how you doing tonight?
Tom, doing very well, thank you, and appreciate the invitation here tonight to talk about mainly towers and tower safety, and enjoy. This is, I believe, the second time that I've been on your program. I guess it's last year sometime, and at that time I was in Collierville in Tennessee, and at your house, and enjoyed that very much. And I guess we've been over here for 3 years and moved here from Memphis, and it's a very quiet part of the country, and it's in Middle Tennessee between Nashville and Knoxville off of I-40. And so we hope to give your audience here an outlook, a frame of tower safety. That's been my very biggest concern here in the last couple of years, and I've been a ham now for about 60 years. I feel old.
Did you say 60? 60?
60, yes, sir.
Yeah. See, you must have got your license when you were like 3, because I've been licensed 54 years. No, 56 years. I don't know how long. 1964. You must have got your license in the 50s.
Well, I started in working to get a ham license in the late 50s, and then I think my first call sign WA4EPF was issued in 61. So
okay,
I go way back.
You do, man. You go way back. So we're gonna do several things tonight. We're gonna show your dream ham shack that you built. You just built this new house. You got about a 1,200-foot ham shack here. You got all kinds of equipment that's been refurbished, and you collect. And we'll talk tower safety and a few things like that.
Yes,
all right.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it.
Yeah, just stick around here. Okay, so let's do this. Alan, let me get you in here, and let's just jump right in the program here about, that one's not going to work for you there. Let's see. We'll try that one right there. Yeah. Alan, come in here, Alan.
There we go.
There you go. Okay, got you in there now. Okay, so, tonight, Alan and I were talking about, we can put some really technical things on, and Alan can really explain them, or we can put some more simpler things on. And I thought tonight a little more simpler might be pretty good. We're going to talk about PowerPolls tonight, and let me tell you, if you've never done one, you're probably going to go out to YouTube and pull up a video just to see how that thing slides in and how it connects and all those kind of things. And there's a good way to do it, there's a bad way to do it. But I actually went to YouTube here a year or two ago. And actually, I didn't see Alan's video, but Alan, talk to us about PowerPoll.
Sure.
And how great they are, man.
Yeah. So actually, the topic came up, I guess, last week. We went technical last week with the nano VNA and all that stuff. So we'll go a little bit low tech this time, but something that just about every ham can relate to. Katie brought up the fact that she was looking at one of these rig runner power distribution modules that. You apply power to it, and then it's got a bunch of PowerPoll connectors on it to connect everything up in your shack. And so I thought I did a video on that a couple years ago, and because they are really popular connectors. I've got a couple just the housings here, and one of the things that I like about them is that they're pretty rugged. There's a number of different sizes. This particular housing size that I'm holding here can be put together for 15 amp, 30 amp, or 45 amp connectors, and they're all interchangeable. The contacts are different because of the size of the wire that they get. This is a contact here. I'm not sure how well it'll come up on the webcam, but this size that I have here is one that is a 30 amp. and they just vary by the size wire that they can take. But you do have to take some care in properly assembling them so that they stay reliable and they don't fall apart. But one of the things that's nice about them is that there's no male or female connector. They essentially mate with themselves. So they're a little bit ambidextrous that way, I'm sure there's another word for it that I can't think of right now. Like I said, they took that last wisdom tooth out, so I forgot all of that stuff. But they go together nice. The connectors have got some neat little features. If you look carefully at the housings, I'll say how well I can catch the light on these things here. You see these little kind of protrusions and grooves. They're actually dovetails, and they can actually slide the two housings together, just like that. And now you've got a mated pair. And as long as you put them together in the right orientation, which I actually did them backwards here, put them together in the right orientation, you can always mate them. So I can't get these apart now. I'll grab another set. So there's an orientation that's kind of been adopted by Aries and Races, and I'm kind of holding it at that orientation here. And that's with, if you take a look at the end of the connector, right at the end on the top here, there's a little A that's imprinted in the plastic, and my webcam probably isn't high enough resolution to show that. I might just be able to see it. And if you hold them so that when you're facing them and the A is facing you and can be read properly, the red is on the right. So that's how I remember which orientation to put them on. So put the red on the right. And then once you do that, everything that will mate to that, then later on, as long as you get you always keep that same convention, you can't mate them the wrong way. So they'll always mate up properly when you connect them together. Some people complain about them in that they don't really snap together and hold together really tight. But so if you pull any pressure on them, they'll pull apart. But there is this little hole going through the center of them. And West Mountain Radio and a couple of other people sell a little clip that you can use to kind of clamp the two together, and even a small wire tie can go in there to clamp them together if you want to kind of hold them more in place. But it does take a little bit of care to properly assemble the wire to the contacts. And what I thought I'd do, Tom, is maybe I'll share where my video is. I'm not going to play the whole video because the whole thing's 9 minutes long, but I'll show you where you can find the video, and I'll show you where there's some links where you can jump through the video just to get to what you need here. So let me do a quick little share of my video screen here. So can you see that okay on your
Hey, Alan, and while you're pulling it up, why don't you look at, I've got a few PowerPolls here.
Oh, there you go. Well, there's some big ones there.
I think these are I don't know, maybe more than 100 amp, I don't know.
Yeah, I've seen those for like connecting up to electric snow plows and stuff like that in the front of trucks. So it's but if I connect a welder up to that thing, so yeah. So this we kind of went over my YouTube channel last week, but it's just youtube.com/my call sign W2AEW, and if you search for video number 120. Okay, that's the video that I did here. Actually, wow, about almost 7 years ago, on how to assemble the PowerPolls. And what I did recently, I went through here and I took advantage of a new feature in YouTube that allows you to essentially create chapters. And if you notice, as I mouse along the bottom here, you can see this first chapter that's kind of lit up in this bar graph is an introduction and and what length to strip the wires to. Then the next little block right here is the dovetails and how they mate together, like I just showed you. The third one here is kind of this standard orientation that I mentioned, with the right on red if you put the hood down on the bottom. It's kind of like I showed you. And then how to orient the contacts. Because we kind of go over to this thing here. Let me see if I can pull that part of the video up just so you can kind of see the picture here. So this is how the contacts get oriented. So if you're holding the connector or the housing with the hood on the top, the end of the contact with the loop dropping down kind of faces down towards like where that A is printed on the bottom. So that's the direction that they get put in when you assemble them after you essentially mate the terminals to the end of the wire. So the next thing, and when it comes down to putting the terminal on the end of the wire, there are two schools of thought, and one is crimping them with a proper crimping tool, and the other is soldering. And I've got my opinions on that, and I'll certainly share them with you here now. The terminals were originally designed, and most of these types of terminals are designed for crimping. And crimping, when done properly with the right set of tools, creates a gas-tight. It creates a gas-tight cold weld between the wire and the terminal itself. So even I'm involved pretty heavily in the military and aerospace industry. Anything that is going on in aircraft and things like that, as part of a wiring harness, all those terminals are typically just crimped and not soldered. Anything that goes into spacecraft, things like that, are all crimped and not soldered. Most people will see that terminals that are on wiring harnesses in automobiles are typically crimped, not soldered, and you might make the argument that that's done mainly just for mass production for speed. But the reality is that a properly done crimp is more reliable than a soldered connection, especially for anything where there may potentially be any kind of motion between, say, the terminal and the wiring harness. If there's any kind of tension on it, or there's potential for any kind of vibration or motion. If you look at the PowerPolls are manufactured by a company called Anderson Power Products, and they've got an application note, an assembly sheet, and the assembly sheet talks about crimping, and it also does talk about soldering. It does say that crimping is preferred. Soldering can be done, but you've got to be really careful, because the clearances involved with when this little metal housing, let's see if I can get a good picture of that back here. The tolerances involved between these housings after it's crimped and inside of the plastic housing itself is actually pretty tight. And if you get any extra solder anywhere, on the terminal itself, it may not slip in properly or may not mate properly. So you can solder them carefully if you just get solder on the inside of the terminal. But I really recommend getting the right tool. And there's a couple of people that make them. The one I'm showing here in the video here, let me get a better picture of it if I can, is this TriCrimp. I'm getting a lousy picture. Let me find a good picture. Here we go, right there maybe. Yeah. This one from TriCrimp. And I recommend, I use this one, but there's a couple of others that are out there. A couple of real quick websites I'll show you here. This is the Anderson PowerPoll website. There's a lot of information on here that you can go look up if you'd like. There's a number of distributors throughout the country that sell the Anderson PowerPoll products. One here on the East Coast that I buy some things from is this Quicksilver radio, and they've got the PowerPoll products. You can just click on that, and they sell sets of them, and they sell some zip cord. They sell the tools. They sell kits that have got the tools and things like that in them as well, and as well as all the terminals and things separately. Another one that is another very popular one throughout the country. They're based in California. Is PowerWorks, WERX, PowerWorks. Again, they sell kits and things like that, and also that's where they've got this one called TriCrimp, which is the one that I have here. Is the TriCrimp unit. West Mountain Radio is another distributor that has a lot of the PowerPoll products, and they've got their version of that of the tool, and they call theirs the PWR crimp or Power Crimp, as opposed to the TriCrimp that comes from PowerWorks. But if you look at them very carefully, they're literally the same crimper with just the different colored handles. So, and they're both, in the neighborhood of $40. And, some people say, well, I don't want to spend $40 on a crimper for just connecting up, one set of wires. And the way I look at it is, I've done, a couple of dozen with mine, but I've lent it out probably a dozen times to hams in the club and other friends and things like that. And if you're involved in an amateur radio club, you might approach the club and say, why doesn't the club just buy a set? Okay, and then anybody in the club who wants to use it can borrow it. And it's a pretty small investment for a club, probably about the same as a year or two's dues for the club to buy a set to have as a club resource. And that's a really great way to make sure that everybody in the club is getting their connectors on right, and get him to have a crimping party after a club meeting, for example. Everybody brings their radios and their wires over and puts all the connectors on. So it's kind of a nice way to do that. So again, I'm not going to play through the video, but I just wanted to kind of show, doing a crimp properly. Actually, after you strip the wires and crimp, let me do a crimp here. The crimp actually becomes a really tight, and there's no protrusions on it. Some of these cheap little crimpers you get at Home Depot and things like that will splay things out quite a bit, and you won't get a real clean crimp on that. Let me see if I can get a better picture here. Here we go. So here's a really nice clean crimp that you get. And again, a properly crimped joint, as I mentioned, will do a cold weld between the wires and the housing itself, and allows for more flexibility. One of the problem that is typically talked about when you're talking about soldering connectors like this is that you get solder in there, especially in stranded wire. You get all the solder that wicks down in between all the strands, and that creates a very rigid group of wires. Okay, even more rigid than a solid core piece of wire. And then as soon as where that solder ends, now the wire is flexible at that point, and you basically create a fracture point there. And as you know, solder is relatively soft metal, okay, but it doesn't really bend. What it'll do is if you bend it after it's been heated and actually applied, if you bend a soldered joint, the solder typically fractures. It doesn't bend. So if you have any kind of potential for motion between the wires and the terminals when you use them, you're really better off crimping with the proper tools. If you can put good strain reliefs on it, things like that, and be judicious with the solder, you can get away with that. But typically, I'm not against the soldering, and even Anderson PowerPolls says you can do it, but just have to do it carefully. So, but that's really what it comes down to. There are, like I said, 3 different sizes terminals that made up in these same size housings that we typically use. The 15 amp terminals will accept wires from 20 gauge to 16 gauge. The 30 amp terminals will accept wire gauge from 16 to 12 gauge. And then the 45 amp terminals will accept from 14 to 10 gauge wire. And I even went so far as on one of my little rigs here. You can see that in the little video if you're still seeing that. Actually, what I'll do is let me stop sharing, and that might be easier. So even on my little FT817, I found somebody who was selling a little 3D printed housing that mounts on the back. If anybody has one of these 817s, it's just a little coaxial power plug. But this little housing has got the coaxial power plug, and then houses a pair of, let me see if I can get the light shining on this right here. A little set of PowerPolls right in there, so you can plug power right into here without having that little wire kind of come out, with the little coaxial plug kind of coming out here. So kind of a neat little housing I found somebody selling on eBay. So I've kind of converted just about everything I have here to the PowerPolls. Once you've got all your wiring harnesses all done that way, it makes for really nice connections. You can use one of those rig runner power distribution blocks like Katie showed last week. I've got a smaller one up in my shack, but I'm a fan of them. And like I said, one other thing I'll do here, let me do a quick little reshare again. Just want to kind of give you some other resources here. So again, the video is number 120 on my channel. And if you go down below the video, there's the little table of contents that allow you to skip through the video to look at just the portion you want to see. And I've also got some links there for Anderson Power, Quicksilver Radio, PowerWorks, and West Mountain Radio, and there's a number of other folks where you can find things like that. But a lot of resources there that are available to you. And I guess a lot of people like the video because there's been a little over 200,000 people that have watched this in the last 7 years. So, so I think we're and only 56 people didn't like it. So it's that's not too bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, one more thing about those crimpers is you can also change out the dies and do coax and regular crimp lugs as well.
Absolutely.
I love those things.
Yeah, so the screws right here allow you to change these die out. I've got a set that will do like BNC connectors for like RG58 cable and things like that. I've got some nice ones for that. You can get dies that'll fit for SO239 crimp-on connectors and things like that. And again, a properly done crimp with a good tool is as reliable, if not more reliable, than a soldered joint.
They actually have them for the RJ45 computer cables as well. Ethernet cables.
Yeah, those are actually, we'll call it a crimp, but it's called an insulation displacement connector.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a set of terminals that have like sharp little forks in it that pierce the insulation when you essentially crimp it down. So it's a form of a crimp. It's just not it's not deforming, the little metal terminal. It's rather than it's forcing a couple of sharp fingers down into the wire, piercing through the insulation. But the concept is still the same.
Yeah, I like the die with the tri-crimp there for that because it just gets a much better crimp than anything else I've used.
I'll have to get one of those. I think because I got one of the cheapy home center ones for the RJ45, so I need to get the good terminal for this the tri-crimp. Yeah, so that's what I was actually thought I might even crimp one on right here on camera if someone wanted to see that, because I've got a kind of a bare wire here, and it's interesting in the video I show that once you strip the wire, I put a nice tight twist on that, but and thinking about it and talking with some folks afterwards, it's probably not a good idea because you really want the crimp to not smash into those crossed over wires. So I just put just enough of a twist on it to ensure that I can get all of the wires inside the terminal without any problem. And then the crimper is kind of nice in that you lay the terminal. Let me see if I got to try and do this so I can see it on camera here. The terminal just kind of lays in there on the shelf, and there's a stop, so it stops as far as it's going to go. And then the crimper is kind of a self-releasing type of a thing. You can hear it click maybe, and when it reaches its stopping point, it'll do a little bit of a louder click, and then it will release. And then once you've got that, you've got a really nice, clean, crimped terminal there. And then this goes in the housing. Again, I'm doing it so I can see it, but I want to try and do it so you can kind of see it on camera here. Again, with the little roof of the housing on top, might be easier to see on the red one. Or maybe I'll do it on the bottom, then you can see that. You want this little hook to kind of face away from the roof. So if I put the roof on the bottom, the terminal is going to go in this direction, and you slip that in there, and you'll hear it snap in, and then it hooks in on the retention spring, and you're good to go. Except, of course, I put the black wire in the I was going to say that. But
Hey, one thing. You can reuse those. You can actually get that out of there and reuse it.
Yeah, you can. I guess they sell it. I know that Anderson Power sells a tool for that, but you could probably do it with a nice thin-bladed screwdriver or something like that.
Yeah,
too.
I've done that.
Yeah, I've got both the tool and a jeweller's screwdriver, and they both work about the same.
Yeah. But I like them. Like I said, I know there's some people that are not a big fan, but I think the pros of those connectors far outweigh some of the negatives that people might come up with. So.
Yeah, I take them and create like a block of 8 and use those for our portable rotator cables at field day and stuff like that. So everything's interchangeable, and if you need an extra 50 or 100 feet, you can just patch it in.
Oh, that's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't have to just be for power. So absolutely.
Well, all right, man. Thank you. Do you have any other video, or I think you've done a good job explaining it tonight.
Yeah, I figured rather than play the video, because the video, I ramble on a little bit. This is back in 2013 before I really did a nice tight job on the videos. I mean, there's good information in there, but I didn't want to waste the whole 9 minutes just kind of playing the video. So you can certainly go ahead and watch it. You can watch the whole thing or just pick up a piece, but it's. I didn't want to go and play anything like that, and just because there's nothing more than what I showed on the camera at this point. So. All
right. Well, I will say this: you did a great job being on pain medicine.
Yeah, the pain medicine's working right now, so I don't feel any too much discomfort as long as I keep my tongue out of the cavity back there. So.
All right. Well, look. Feel free to leave whenever your pain medicine wears off, okay?
All right. We'll hang out for a while.
Okay. All right. All right, guys. Hey, go check out his YouTube channel. And I guess if you just go to W2AE...
yes, youtube.com/W2... Yeah, youtube.com/W2AEW. Right right
they will find all your videos there. Okay, very good.
Okay.
All right.
And
hey,
if
guys.
it's any consolation... I had my wisdom teeth pulled probably about 20, 30 years ago, maybe 35 years ago. I had them pull all four at once because I said, you're only getting one shot.
Yeah, well.
All right. Well, they did three of mine years and years ago. This last one has been hanging out for many years, and finally got to the point where it was starting to have a little trouble. So they said, let's get rid of it now. So, but got me out of work half a day. So.
All right, guys. We'll be back in just a moment. Don't go away. Let's talk about a brand new ICOM radio. Get out and be active with ICOM's new IC705. The IC705 is your perfect QRP companion as you have base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package. It covers HF through 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs in at just over 2 pounds with RF direct sampling for most of the HF bands and IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. It also has a large 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. You get 5 watts with the BP272 and 10 watts with a 13.8 volt DC power supply. It has a micro USB connector, Bluetooth, and WLAN. Integrated GPS with antenna and a GPS logger. It has a micro SD card slot, and the HM243 speaker microphone comes standard. The perfect accessory for the IC705 is the LC192 backpack. It has a special compartment for your IC705 and room for all your accessories. The IC705 now has received FCC certification, and we expect product to be shipping to dealers by the end of September. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on ICOM radios.
LDG Electronics provides state-of-the-art antenna tuners for every amateur need. From QRP to QRO, fixed stations, portable and remote, an LDG tuner will match your radio to your antenna using our lightning-fast, proprietary tuning algorithms. LDG is a family-owned and operated company dedicated to bringing innovative, quality products to the amateur market. All LDG products carry a full 2-year warranty that is fully transferable. Support is only a phone call or email away. We're always here to help you. Visit us on the web at ldgelectronics.com.
All right, we are back, and hey, that was pretty good on the PowerPoll. I've started using them, and I tell you, I used to just put, lugs on the end and hook them on the back of the power supply, and then I'd had 4 or 5 radios, and I'd keep stacking those lugs up, and then I'd have to splice into the other wires, and it was starting to be a mess. But hey, I kind of like the PowerPolls now. Hey, couple cards this week, man. Robert, W8KOU, sent me a card. Look at there, up in Ohio. He sent me a card. And W8BDE, he is up in Akron, Ohio. He sent me a card too. It's hard to see. So I got a couple cards this week. They're all my cards have been sent back out to you guys. Thank you for the cards. Okay, so let's do this. I invited a friend of mine, Skip Morris K5FC, to be with us tonight. I've known Skip for a long, long time. We both worked at FedEx. He was a radio engineer at FedEx for several decades. I knew him that long, and I think prior to that he was in broadcasting and worked for one of the TV stations here. So he's got quite a background and a lot of experience, and we're going to see a lot of things that he's doing and he's done. And we're going to talk about, I think, some tower safety tonight. And I think he also has another thing that he's going to probably use to lead in. And also, he's got a guest with him tonight, and I want to get you to introduce his guest. So let's do that, and then you can take it away, Skip. Go right ahead.
All right, Tom. Thank you once again for the invitation here to address the group. The many hams, and I fully appreciate it. I've been a ham now for about 60 years, and grew up in the radio business in Memphis, Tennessee. And I have a guest here behind me, Ron Baker, WB4HFN, and Ron has been very active in the restoration and fixing of all the Drake equipment. And all of us that grew up as hams in the early days, we all knew Drake. You know, Bob Drake did a great job, and so I guess I worked with Tom there in Memphis at FedEx for many years, and retired here about 5 years ago. And we relocated from Memphis to Cookeville, Tennessee, which is halfway between Nashville and Knoxville. And we built a home over here, and I've got a 1,200 square foot radio room today, which has been a lot of fun. It took me a long time to put it all together, but that was my dream, and my dream came about. So, but I guess I'm going to do a little bragging here. I got to give you everybody a kind of a brief showing here of what I have put together. I've been a collector of Drake, Collins, Johnson, and you know, like any of the guys and gals that have been around for a while, we all grew up on this hardware, and I've had this restored. Ron behind me did a lot of work on my Drake equipment, and also I had W0YVA up in Falls Church, Virginia, restored my Johnson Valiant and my Ranger, and the Collins as well. And I have done some of the stuff myself. And let's walk through a little bit of it. Once again, I got Tom said I have bragging rights tonight, so let's see if we can get this thing launched here. Let's see. All right, I guess Tom, do we have the picture online here? Can you see everything? Hello, Tom. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're not sharing here yet.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me, Skip?
Yes, sir. I can.
Yeah. All I'm seeing right now is your passwords to your bank accounts.
What?
No, we're not seeing anything. All right. Did you hit the share screen?
Well, let me get to it here. Hang on.
And Ron's call was WB4HFN.
Yes. All right. This is not coming up. Why is that? Share. All right.
Now we know this works because we tested it earlier today.
Yep. Well, let's see.
Yeah, what do they say about the demo mode of software? It always works in demo mode, but
Yeah.
when you buy it, then you know.
That's right. All right, this is important. I want us to see these pictures, so we're gonna have to get this working here.
Share.
Share screen. Skip, do you see the button that says share screen?
Well, let's see.
Depending on how you got it, you may have to click the 3 dots for more. It might be hidden there.
3 dots.
It's on the bottom line on my screen.
All right, edit. All right, we're not working here for some reason. Let's see.
We'll get it.
You can also try an Alt S.
An Alt S. Are you making that up, Glenn?
No, if I hover my mouse over my share screen, it says share is Alt plus S.
All right, Skip, hold your Alt key down and hit S.
All right.
Alt S.
All right. Did that. Not there. Hang on. Let's see.
Are you sure you're on a computer?
We had this before.
I know it. It worked before. We did all this.
Feedback.
We'll get it.
Sure.
As I told Skip, we have no deadline here. We can go 3 or 4 hours if we need to.
Yeah, because I'm leaving in about 10 minutes.
Well,
You gonna show the same pictures that you got on the QRZ page, or you've got other pictures you want to show?
I've got other
He's
pictures.
got others too. All right, look, we can do this. We can do this. Now,
Yeah, Tom, you may need to allow.
I
share.
did for, it's already been done.
Oh, okay.
Here.
Yep, it's already been done. I think he got it.
Looks that way.
Or is that something I did?
It's something you did.
Uh,
It's on your feed.
well, that's interesting. Okay. All right. So, Skip, when you click on the little share screen, it does not do anything?
Well, I'm getting up on the right hand top share. I see the and I'm getting a block of copy file, feedback, get apps in store. So why is this not?
All right. So, we got some Zoom experts in the chat room. I want everybody, all the experts in the chat room to,
I think you're at the settings screen. You've got a screen there that should have all of our video up. And on the bottom of that screen, I got a green icon that says share screen.
Wait a minute. Hang on, guys. I think.
If you
you got it. You got it.
there you go.
got it.
Now you got it.
All right. Now let's get to the shots.
That's the ugly tower picture.
Okay, let's get to. All right,
There you go.
still up, guys?
Yeah, I
got
think
your whole array of pictures now.
I think you're going to get it. Okay.
You see them? You got it?
We got it.
Okay, let me move over here. Okay, so y'all see this, I guess. This is kind of the front layout of the shack. And what you see here is the rack that really controls the whole room. Now keep in mind, most of my stuff is vacuum tubes. So I bring everything up on a Variac. Everything, all of my amplifiers, and I've got 12 stations set up in this room, okay? And let's go to the next slide here. Wrong way. Let's see, get you guys over here. All right, what you see here is the some of the Drake equipment over here on this table. L4B, several TR4Cs. I've got 2 Drake C lines. And once again, Ron behind me, he restored all of this stuff, okay, and did an excellent job. And I'm a CW person, so what you see here, you see keys everywhere, okay? That's just the way I am. I'm operating right now from this location, and we're looking at the other side of the room. This is about a 1,200 square foot radio room. Here's the C lines and all the other stuff with the L4B. And on this table over here, and you'll see this. And this is the TR7 line and the L7 amplifier. And once again, guys, this stuff is just really, really nice. I've got 2 Collins amplifiers here that are the 4 models, and I restored those myself. And then over here, you got the Collins S line, and I believe that if I remember right, this KWM2 was at the NASA space station down in Florida, which I acquired several years ago. Here is a Viking Valiant 75A4, Drake, or the Ranger 75A4. These are restored up in Virginia, and I will tell you this: the man that did all this, he is very, very good, but he's not cheap, not cheap at all. Another picture of one of the Collins in the rack with some of the stuff in here. Once again, my rotators and the variacs that control all of the 220, 120, because everything comes up on the rack on that variac. You know, as we know, all of this stuff was built back in the 50s, and it had to be right on the primary voltage. A view from where I am now. This is my Collins my small little novice station, Drake 2C, ICO 720, which I restored from ground zero. I took it, tore it all apart, sent the chassis to have it remade for the copper, and brought it back in, built it back in as a kit, which was it was a fun project, but it really worked out nice. Here's the Drake TR7 line, and once again with the L4B, L7, and love it. It's absolutely a great station. Ron behind me, he rebuilt that. That station, okay. Another view of this. Collins S-Line. Once again, 12 stations here on the air. This is the last project that I built, a 4-1000 amplifier, and it's, let's see, you'll see it later in another picture, but it's on the QRZ.com website, and it worked out beautifully. All rebuilt. The cabinet was all repainted by a professional, and it's just been a fun station to operate. So, do we have any questions before I really jump into what I want to talk about tonight?
Well, let's see. Any questions in the chat room? We've got a lot of people interested in restoring equipment, and they've been discussing that. You got a nice variation of equipment there. I love the Collins stuff you had. That kind of reminds me of the radios I saw in the Air Force when I didn't have a good sideband rig when that KWM2 came out, and the 75 series. Those are really nice radios.
Well, restoring the Collins amplifiers was a very big project, everybody, because that amplifier was very complex, and to get to it, to rebuild it, it was very difficult because the way they built that thing, it was hard to get to everything. And you've got this deck. The RF deck is external from the power supply, and they've got a circuit in there that is a delay circuit. So when you turn it on, it went through a 3-minute pause period before you could turn on the high voltage. And it was a nice amplifier. It uses a 4CX1000, and those tubes are very good, but it's not a high-powered amplifier, but it's a well-made. It's a workhorse.
And hey, Skip, question chat room, please. Again, state the E.F. Johnson expert that you mentioned.
That is, it's Bob. What's Bob's last name? He's up W0YVA, W0 Yankee Victor Alpha, and he is very well known up in Falls Church, Virginia, and he restores the Johnson, the Collins, probably just about anything you want to restore. But I will tell you this, if anybody is interested in him working for you to do this, there are 2 questions you don't ask him. When is it going to be ready, and how much is it going to cost? So,
if you have to ask, you can't afford it, right?
Right. I will tell you this, that the 75A4s were completely stripped down, completely self-screen painted, and the price after restoration was $4,000 each. Now that receiver was a whole lot less when it was new, and the Viking Valiant was very close to the same price. But keep in mind, everyone, this stuff was built or restored better than it was built. I will tell you that. And I've had them for somewhere around 10 years. Never had a problem. Never, unless a tube went bad.
How do you keep your shack so clean?
Because I'm anal.
And on that note, I've got to run and do my presentation. We'll catch y'all next week.
All right, we'll see you, Glenn.
All right, guys.
Take care, Glenn.
Okay. And
so Skip, you mentioned your 4-1000 was not a high power amplifier, but gee, I mean that's a 1,000-watt plate dissipation. To me, that's high.
That was the 4CX 1000, which is the Collins 32S3, 32S1.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the one that you were building there with the 4-1000.
No, that's a little bit more than if anyone is here that's had all of that experience,
yeah,
probably knows very well that is not a low power amplifier. Okay?
It's not. With a 1,000-watt plate dissipation, I think you can get quite a bit out of that.
Let me bring that up, and I'll show you, because these pictures are a little bit out of order. And let me see if I can see this guy. All right, here's the 4-1000. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Keep in mind, this amplifier belonged to, as originally a man in Memphis built this, was Johnny Watson, for Gulf Delta.
I knew
it was
Johnny.
Built probably in the early 60s, mid 60s. And I acquired this from a K4XO, and I brought it back with me and tore it completely apart, took it all the way down to nothing, and stripped it, rebuilt it, shined everything up. The amplifier is very robust, and I got it back on the air back in this last March, and it's just a rocking amplifier. It does so well on the air, and it's got the rotary inductor, so it operates all bands. And Johnny Watson wound the transformer, he wound the swinging choke, and it's just a great project, great amplifier. The cabinet is the Bud cabinet, which I took away and restored that. Had a company there in Memphis do the powder coat painting and put this all back together. And so everyone that's ever had any experience with a 4-1000, it goes without saying, it's just a very, very nice amplifier. And once again, this is my last project. I will not build any more transmitters, receivers, and amplifiers. I'm done with that. This is it. I'm over with it, but I love it to death. Any questions there?
Well, you have enough there. I don't think you need to do any more right now.
What do you do with all the rigs and stuff there? What do you do for antenna switching? I mean, I'm assuming you don't have an antenna matched to every rig, and that you kind of multiplex them out to the antenna farm that you've got. So I wonder what you do there.
All right. Okay. So Alan, I use 2 switches. I've got the this is the 8-position switch, which is the MFJ. Okay, this one here. So I switch up to 7 rigs on this one. Then I switch over to a Drake switch device down here, and so I take on 5 more, so I can switch all of those from this rack.
Okay.
Transmit, receive, they go right through there. They all go to the tuner, which is the one that's a what is it, the Powstar.
Okay.
Great. Let me tell you, I recommend that wholly. That thing works so nice. I've had it many, many years. And so I run everything through that, but I use this guy for the Powstar to match any mismatch that I might have. But I've got the beams, and those will come up later when I should do the presentation.
Okay.
So I've got the green heron tuner or rotary for one of the antennas, and then I've got gotta stop and think. Anyway, this one right here. I'll come up with it. Well, that's how I change the rigs in the room.
Okay. Nice.
Well, you've got so much there. We can't count on you remembering everything.
When I'm away from it during the summertime, I forget what I've got. But now in the wintertime, ask me this again.
Now, do you have any heat down there in the basement?
Well, not really. If anybody has a basement, we never change the temperature on here because it's pretty much constant. It's consistent because the basement keeps the same temperature year round.
Cool.
And the radios, they don't really create that much heat, actually.
Yeah.
So, but I work CW 150% of the time, and so very little sideband.
Yeah, I saw all the microphones up on a shelf all by themselves over there.
Yeah, I know. So, but CW's always been my life.
Nice.
Hopefully it will never go away. So, any more questions? And I'll roll to my real presentation here.
Does Electro Voice 664 mic use a preamp?
No.
No preamp. Okay.
They've got, some of those amplifiers do have preamps, but I never, because the radios today, you really don't need a preamp. The audio input's very sensitive.
Okay. All right.
So, are we ready to jump into really what I want to talk about?
Yeah, let's talk about, I guess, tower safety. You have some experience. I know you said you're not a tower expert, but you've definitely had a lot of experience over the years, and I learned a lot. And you have some things to show and tell us.
I do. All right. First of all, what I'm about to bring up, I will explain a little bit here what has happened here, and I'm not going to take any questions. I'm just going to lay this out, and because there's certain things that are still pending here. Okay, 2 years ago, here at this location, at this QTH, we were going to put up 2 towers, one at 90 feet, one at 70 feet, RON 45. And all of this was brought in here from Memphis. It was a September day, a very beautiful, nice day. The weather was very comfortable. So we brought an individual here from away from here and out of town, and about 30 years old, very nice kid. He had a lot of experience on towers. He actually did cell sites. So everything was a very good day. We were up to 80 feet. We were at 4:30 in the afternoon. And I have to tell you, there was a problem. We got to the point where we were pulling up the last section of it 90 feet. And without getting into full details, we had one, Ron recommended two guy wires for a 90-foot tower, one at 40 and one at 80 for a 90-foot tower, which I complied, went exactly what they recommended. We had a problem, and the tower, we lost the guy wire going up. The one guy wire that was up. The tower fell, you can see it. The young man died in my backyard. So it was very traumatic, as you well know, as you can, imagine. But, I won't get into other than we had a guy wire fail. And it was a painful thing. Took us, I actually almost reached a point after 60 years of being a ham, I was going to get out of radio and just call it quits. And it's a very bad experience, guys. And I've been putting up towers since 1961 as a kid before I made it to high school. I always had a dream that I would fall off of the tower. I never thought about the tower falling, and this did. And as you can see on this picture, the last section was the one that you see that's vertical, and the top of the tower never made it to the ground, but this section did. So, it was bad, and it took me a long, long time to recover. And I did. I was told not to give it up, so I moved on. And to give you, let me move this over here. This is what the tower looked laying over. And basically, my point here tonight is to talk about tower safety. And basically, that's it. Once again, please, no one ask about what happened. I know what happened. Many people do know what happened, but it happened. It was a very bad thing. So anyway, let's move on. Okay. So let's talk about guy wires. Okay. Here's one of my guys. It's an 8-inch I-beam. It's 6 feet in the ground, 30-inch bore, and 30 inches of concrete. Now, I've always been an advocate of strong guys, and I've been an advocate of I-beams for guy wires, and I strongly believe in them, and they work very well. And so a lot of the guys, gals, whatever, put guy wires on whatever. And let me tell you, it's so important to do proper guying, because if you try to cut corners, something eventually is going to happen. And if you can't afford, if you want to cut corners for the guy points, pardon my French here, but you're a fool, because guy wires are so important here. And there's a formula for every foot above the ground level, you need to be so many feet below the ground. What that formula is, I don't know, but I will tell you my experience in all the years and all the towers. I put up so many 100+ foot towers on 45 that you can't go too deep, and you can't go too bore. Your bore can't be too much. So go do it, double up. If you can't afford it, don't do it, or find a way to afford it. Okay. I'll take a question on any of that, Tom, if you want, before I change pictures.
Yeah, Skip, one thing you had said to me one time we're talking was, a lot of hams are cheap, and we'll cut back $200 just to save $200 on something like this.
That's true. And hey, in the early days, I did the same thing. I actually guyed a 50-foot tower run 25 on a fence post, a chain link fence post. But I was a kid, didn't know any better. And thank God nothing happened to me. The tower didn't fall, but I did drop a mass pipe through the roof of my house and went down into the bed. So my dad, I thought I lost radio at that time. So, and things happen. So, all right, this is one of my guy points. And what I did, this is an equalizer plate, but we welded a 1-inch rod here. The the rod with the, what is it? The rod that goes to, anyway, it's a, yeah, I'll find it here. Hang on. All right, this is the way we put these towers up. There's 2 towers at this location, and this is what they call the pin plate method. With this, there is no tower underground. Okay, it's all sitting on top of the concrete pad. I do not favor a tower under the ground in the concrete because of 2 reasons. Number 1, the tower can snap. Number 2 is water accumulates down the rods and will freeze, rust, and eventually break off. Last year, I think there was a tower up in New England somewhere that actually they were taking it down. It got to 30 or 40 feet and it fell over because they were rusted out. Nobody knew it. One of the people died and one was hurt very seriously. Okay. So I stay away from it. The guy wires hold the tower up if you're going with a guide tower. Ron towers are very, very, very good, but you got to put it in there correctly. Number 2 is that Ron recommends a number of guy wires per foot. And after this accident, I disagree with Ron. If you think I'm crazy, I'm not, because I've had a bad experience here. I will not go with Ron's specs. If they want 2 guys, I'm going to put 3. And we're going to show you how we did this. Any questions so far? Okay.
There was a question if the manufacturers publish formulas for the guy wire spacing and strength.
Well, I have gone to the Philly strand, which I've never used before this setup. And I really think that Philly strand is as strong, if not stronger, than the steel wire. It's very robust. It does an excellent job, especially with the type of tie-in you do with the wraparound, because the harder you pull, the tougher it gets. And this tower that fell had Philly strand. The Philly strand never buckled, never broke. It did the whole job. So once again, I still disagree with Ron's two guy. I love go to 3. I feel that way now. Here's another guy wire. And another thing, everyone, keep them low. Don't get these things up 5 and 6 feet above the ground if you just think you have to mow under them, because keep them low, because look at the physics of this thing. The lower it is, the stronger it is. And the deeper you go, the more strong it gets. These were welded rods here. Is all this showing up on the pictures okay there, Tom?
Yeah, it's doing fine.
Okay. Also, you want to safety harness this thing. And let me get to the next picture. Let's see if that's going to come up. Okay, you got your equalizer plates here. Also here, now we did weld the eye hook. That's what I'm looking for, the eye hook on here for the equalizer plate. And we drilled through the I-beam and we put in the shackle. That's a backup, okay? And I'll show you why you need a backup. We'll get into something else here. Let me get to the rest. I'm going to fast forward through some of this. Here we go. Let's go back. All right. Here's the, now this guy wire, which I think now is the best way to go. You drill through the I-beam. You put your eye hook, your eye bolt through there. And I recommend a 3/4 to 1 inch, depending on the size of your tower. So that way, it won't come, it won't break. But this is your backup. This is where you back up and take out the clamp or the turnbuckles, so that they're not. If something happened to a turnbuckle, if it was compromised, you got this backup, and I'll show you how we did that. This is where they. Let me get this move around. Here's where it goes through the shackle, and it goes through here, down here, through here, and it's tied back here. If you have a failure here, a shackle bolt, a bolt back here, you're still backed up. Okay, nothing can come. It just won't happen. It's backed up. A lot of folks want to run a guy wire through the turnbuckles. That's fine. That's good. You can do both if you want. But if you had a bolt break here, or here, or here, you've lost the guy wire. Okay? So I've not run something. If somebody's going to twist on those, so what? If they twist it, you're still backed up here. You can't have too much redundancy. Okay? If you're going to put guy wires up, strongly recommend the yellow plastic wrapping around the guys, because if somebody's going to go in there and cut your yard, you want everybody to see you got a guy wire. You don't want anything that can't be seen. I strongly recommend the guy points having them being marked. Here's how you tether your Philly strand to a steel guy. You've got to have a way to go from Philly strand to guy to get to the turnbuckles. Nice shuckle. These things they're huge. They're just very dependable. So always do your turnbuckles and your. This is a way you connect them together, and you can keep an eye on things. You can know what's going on. Okay. So this is in my opinion, let's go back and say, this is my opinion, okay? It's not, maybe the manufacturer may say yes, may say no, but this is my opinion. Any questions so far? Nope. Tom, are we getting any messages coming through on your website?
Well, there's a lot of discussion about guying, and people are talking about what they've done and so forth, so. Okay, here's one question. Please ask your opinion on PIROD towers. PIROD towers? Do you know what they're talking about? PIROD?
Alan, do you
know Alan?
Get that question? I've always my experience in past has been with the RON 45. That's the PIROD is that tower.
I guess the PIRODs don't have hollow legs. They're just steel rods.
Yeah. I guess the only thing I gathered, I'm not a tower expert, so I couldn't answer that. But I kind of gathered from the comments that the PIROD doesn't have the problem of water gathering inside of a hollow leg that can rust out. So I don't know if it's more of an angle iron or a solid type of a thing, or what it looks like.
Now, another question was, what would be used to anchor a guy in rocky soil? I guess you just got to dig down deep enough and get some concrete in the ground, right?
Well, and Tom, over here in Middle Tennessee, a lot of rock in the ground. Okay, we're on the plateau, and there's a lot of rock here, and we were able to. We did a core bore with. I brought an electrical company out here that used an auger, and we were able to bore straight down without any problem of hitting any rock. Now, you know, I've never had any rock experience coming from West Tennessee. So here, we were lucky we didn't have any problems here. How would I have handled that? You know, maybe you go to a dead man. Maybe you get a backhoe in here and you'd actually dig the deep, big dead man type scenario. That's just my opinion.
There was a question on tower heights. Your two towers, didn't you say what, 80 and 90 feet?
Correct.
Okay, they were asking how tall.
Yeah. Well, I scaled back after the accident. I went to 270s. I backed away from the 90, only
Okay.
because I was kind of shell shocked.
Yeah.
And so I went to 270s, which was fine. And I'll show you the antennas and how that went up. And there's not a really look at the band you're on, look at the wavelength, and go do your math. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not. Sometimes it's just unnecessary and more expense to go up higher. You don't really need it as long as if you're a wavelength high, talk to the antenna experts. And once again, I'll show you what we ended up doing here.
It looks like Bill in the chat room posted a link to a kind of a data sheet for the Pyrod towers, and a quick glance at that, it looks like that they use solid rod construction, so there's no hollow rod to collect any water. They're all solid bars.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if I had to do it all over again, I think I would have bitten down on the bullet and gone with a self-supporting 100-foot tower, like a cell site, okay? But no, I didn't. I stayed with what I was familiar with. Here's a view of one of the guy points, and you see how it turned out. This guy point is about 24 inches above the ground, and it turned out beautifully. I mean, it's very strong and very robust, and I have all the confidence in the world of this kind of guy point. I strongly recommend, if you can, go with the I-beams. I-beams are tremendous. You've got a lot of points of welding. You got a lot of points of drilling. And let me tell you, an I-beam, that's what they use in structural buildings, and they work. And they're superb. And I used them in Memphis. I used them in Hernando, where I lived down in Mississippi. So I'm an I-beam fan. Go as
Skip.
one.
Yeah, can you talk about how you attach the Philly strand to? Because it looks like it's a it's more of a guy wire going through the kind of half moon at the end, but then right there. But then I see the Philly strand coming out. But is it just a set of those kind of U-bolt structures that join those together?
Let's see. I'm not sure if I've got pictures of the Philly strand.
Was the one picture you had that showed the last one you showed that had the finished guy that you were talking about? It looks almost like that the Philly strand was just running parallel with the steel wire, and you just had those U-bolt structures on it.
The Philly strand is let's see. Once again, this is the best picture I think I can. Well, no, wait a minute. I think I've got. Let's see.
Yeah, the one you had we were talking about. Yeah, that one there, because it almost looks like you had a. Maybe you can see part of it there on below the yellow.
The Philly
jacket.
strand is if you go to DX Engineering, it's a wrap. It's a thimble, and the Philly strand is wrapped around, or the wire of the Philly strand is wrapped around it. It's like a snake, to pull in wire. It wraps. You put your wire in it wraps around. So the more you pull, the tension of that becomes stronger.
That's kind of like the Chinese finger cuff type of thing.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yes,
Got
sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir, Alan. That's correct.
Okay.
And I've never used Philly strand before this, and I think it's the greatest thing about. Some people have their opinion about that. Do they need Philly strand to isolate your guy wires from the antennas? Maybe yes, maybe no. But it was available. I tried it, and I'm sold on it. So it was developed. It had a purpose, and then if you go, you may have to do some research on it. When it was developed, for what reason, to isolate the antenna from ground levels, okay? But you can't break it. When this tower fell, the Philly strand never had a problem. It was the steel that broke, okay? So, all right, let me go to, all right, now my first set of guys are what I call safety guys. So when I went up to 30 feet, these guys got put on. Now these are shackles. These are not guy wire. These are not really for the well, we'll see them here in a minute. But these are shackles, and they're big enough to go all the way around the tower leg. And this is how the first set of guys go up, because you really don't have a lot of, how would I say, when you're rotating an antenna where the tower wants to twist, okay? Down at this level, these are 30 feet, I think. So I did use the shackles here. And there's where you can see the Philly strand kind of, this is the, and we'll see if we can see a better picture. I never thought about taking those kind of pictures. Let's see.